Hi students, in this session we'll try to understand what is psychology. In previous sessions we have discussed about introduction to psychology, and as a subjectual procedure in the unit, the next part is what is psychology. Let's see the topic. So here I just, for the students' convenience, I took this way of explanation. So what you can say, like I took the textbook itself for a way of explanation, because it can be easy to make an understanding for the students. So okay, so what today's topic here, so that is what is psychology. And here if you can see, any knowledge discipline is hard to define. Any knowledge discipline, as in the next session we will be seeing as psychology as a discipline. If you can see, discipline is nothing but a set of rules. Okay, set of rules and regulations for the follow. And here particularly, when a subject is related to, if you can see, physics is a developing one, science is a developing one, there is maths is, it is also a developing subject, and even psychology, as said earlier, it is like, it is a modern science. In such a way, it is still developing and there are many yet to come, right? So the knowledge changes from day to day. Even science, it is not permanent. It changes, the facts changes from time to time. So any knowledge discipline is hard to define. The definition changes from time to time. As the fact changes, time to time, the definition changes or upgrades. Right, next. Firstly, because it evolves continuously. That's what he is saying. It evolves continuously. Secondly, because the range of phenomena it studies cannot be captured by any one definition. That's what psychology. If you can see, you cannot measure the mind functioning. What are all the functioning available at the mind? Mind is so fascinating subject. Every day it surprises us, right? So that's how you cannot, it cannot be captured by any one definition. It has a lot of understanding and there may be a lot of definitions. This is even more true to psychology. Of course, yes, we are talking about psychology, as psychology has more, like you can say, more possibility of exploration and understanding. So psychology is also having some broader perspectives and perspectives. Long time back, students like yourself were told that the term psychology is derived from two Greek words, psych meaning soul and logos meaning science or study of a subject. So here he is saying that the term psychology itself is taken from two words, which is psych and logos. What is meant by psych? Mean soul. It is like Atma, which is not visible. Okay, logos means it is a study of science. Okay, study of science or subject. It can be a subject. So next to, so psychology was a study of soul or mind. Thus, as the definition says, soul, psych means soul, and study of a subject or science. It is a then it becomes soul study, or it is like study of the soul or mind. But since then, it has moved away considerably, as soul cannot be defined, and it is like a even still people feel some. It is some black material. It is some superstitious material. When you speak of Atma or soul, people attribute it to some negative feelings. That's how. So, even the modern science technology, as the method of science is different from those of philosophical approaches, we try to understand in this way. So, what does it say? From this focus and establish it itself as scientific discipline, which deals with the process of underlying human experience and behavior. As the word itself is giving the meaning of study of soul, from then it adopted scientific methods, and then it tries to deal with the understand the human behavior and experiences. Experiences come from learning. Experiences come from the sensory reception of information. Okay, so the range of phenomena it studies, some of which we mentioned above, are spread over several levels. So, as we discussed, knowledge as a discipline is hard to define. You cannot limit it to the one definition. So, in such a way, the behavior, the experiences are spread over several levels, with individual, dyadic, two-person, group, and organization. So behavior of a single individual, if an individual talks to the other person, it is a two-person, talks to a little group like 5 to 6 members, it is a group, and if it works for, definitely a human being works, and if it works for an organization, it is an organizational behavior. They also have biological as well as social basis. As we are considering behavior as it has internal aspect of behavior and external aspect. As we spoke of sensory organs, see the nose, mouth, tongue, ears, eyes, and skin. Okay, these are the sensory organs, how you receive the information. But once you receive the information, the brain, it through neurons, nerves, it reaches the brain, and then it is processed in the brain, and then the behavior. It is like action and reaction. Action is taken from the receiving end, and then then after the processing of information, the decision making of the brain, it experiences and it exhibits a new behavior which is called external behavior. In such a way, as we are receiving information by sensory organs, it is biological. The body related, it is biological. So, and the behavior which is the reaction of the action is external behavior, and it has some social basis. If I am talking now, I am communicating, which is a social one. The things which I am thinking is internal behavior. But what I am seeing and reading, which is all sensory information, that is one type of behavior. So you are understanding the difference, right? So it has the biological basis and social basis. Naturally, therefore, the methods required to study them also vary greatly depending on the phenomenon of one wants to study. So if I want to study the biological way of understanding of the behavior, it is one way. If I want to study the social aspect of the human being and behavior, it is one way. So now it is clearly there are two paths in study. Right? So there are two paths in studying, and that depends on the one, which one, biological phenomenon or social phenomenon, which one wants to study. It depends on the individual who choose to study the subject. Okay. It is also next. A discipline is defined both in terms of what it studies and how it studies. As we said, some, you can say it as like scientific study. It studies in terms of what it studies and how it studies. If you can see an example, mm, if you see a horse, you know it is a horse. If you can see that object standing on some grasslands or greenlands, you know it is horse. But what is the quality of it? And how you know it is a horse? By tail and head and the way it runs and the way it gauges the green, grass. Maybe there may be a lot of causes, right? So, in such a way, it depends on what and how it studies. Then, in fact, more in terms of how the method it uses, even in study of the psychology discipline also, the method of study is also really important. The which method, experimental method, non-experimental method, which is being used by you. So even the method of study is also important. Like there are some methods like observational method, interview method, question method, scale method. There are different things which you can understand the information. So keeping in this view, psychology defined formally as the science which studies mental processes, experiences and behavior in different contexts. So here what he is saying is like as we adopted some methods and that methods relate to scientific study. So it is treated and formally defined as a science, and then what it studies, how it studies. It studies the mental processes, experiences, and behavior. So what do you call the mental process? That is what I told you, action reaction. It is like it is receiving the information, processing the information, you are giving a behavior. So what is that it is happening? It is the mental process. What is the reaction? What is the result? It is the behavior. In between, what is all happening? The overall picture is experience. So that's how you can relate this process to psychology. What is psychology? What is the human being study of the mind? How it goes. So it goes with the experiences, behavior, and what is happening. It is mental processes. Okay. In doing so, it uses methods of biological and social sciences. As I said, the psychology involves both biological basis and social basis. So the study also involves both social and biological sciences to obtain data systematically. It makes sense of the data so that they can be organized as knowledge. So if you see recently there is some data analysis, machine learning, artificial intelligence. There are some areas in such a way you even the receiving of information, what age you are, what is your name, where do you live, who are all your relatives, whom you relate to, what do you have, what is your education, what is the percentage of the education. There are a lot of data. Everything is happening over data, right? So that collection of data in terms of a biological way or a social way, it is possible. Let us try to understand these three terms used in the definition. Here it is the mental processes, experiences, and behavior. So these are all things. Let's see the definition. Okay, when we say experiences are internal to experiencing person, then we refer to the states of consciousness or awareness or mental process. So mental processes, it cannot be seen. You cannot see the mental process. It says the experiences are internal to the experiencing person. I am thinking. I am thinking. I know it. You may not know what I am thinking. What is the process going in my brain? And I am aware. I know what is going on. Whether it is negative, positive. Experiences are internal to the experiencing person, and then we refer to states of consciousness and awareness, or these are all called the mental processes. Experiences are internal, and the experienced person only knows it. That is called mental processes. So what do you call the mental? This is the quality of a mental process or the characteristic of mental process. You can say it as. So this is what the mental process is. So these are the mental process. We use our mental process when we think or try to solve the problem. So if you see a snake, you may not know what it is really. You never saw it. So you get some situation like a new exam. You don't know or you didn't prepare. So the process is a mental process. To know or remember something, like what it is, how we can do it, all these things will come under these mental processes. One level at which these mental processes are reflected is the brain activity. One level at which these mental processes are reflected. So if I am reading, I am seeing, you are able to see it, right? At which the mental process, it is a reflection, it is the reaction. So that is called brain activity. As we think or solve a mathematical problem, our brain activates. Activities can be observed using different techniques of brain imagining. And even the brain activity, what it is going inside, can be observed by brain imaging. Brain imaging techniques there are there, like EEG, MRI, fMRI. There are few techniques where you can, it is like an X-ray method. You can scan the brain, what is all going in this one. In the thinking process, there changes some colors or like some movements in the nerves, the action potential, energy values, all these things will be observed in the brain imaging. That is called brain activity. The brain activity also can be observed. Okay. However, we cannot say that brain activities and mental processes are the same, although they are interdependent. What he is saying that the brain activities and mental process are not the same. How can it be not same? How can you say? Oh, it is difficult, right? So definitely. How can you say it is different? Because there is something physical, but you cannot see what thinking is. So it is named as mental process, but something physically is happening. You know it is happening. So that is called brain activity. So, but when the brain activity happened, there is a reaction, there is a behavior, then they are interdependent. Although these are different, but they are interdependent. They are depending like when brain activity happens, mind works. When something mind has to do, the body has given directly to the mind, or it wants to think of something, there will be some brain activity also. Okay, mental activities and neural activities are mutually overlapping process. They are not identical. That's what they are independent, but they are not same. Unlike the brain, the mind does not have a physical structure. I think you can know the difference of a brain activity and mental processes, and even a difference between brain and mind in this here. Unlike the brain, the mind does not have a physical structure. Brain has a physical structure. It is two lobes are there. I think it is divided into some 8 parts. The main 3 parts are cerebellum, cerebrum, and medulla oblongata. These are the things, and there is also some hippocampus. There are some identified areas: frontal lobe, occipital lobe. There are lobes divided into, and mind emerges and evolves as our interactions and experiences in this world get dynamically organized in the form of a system which is responsible for the occurrence of various mental processes. Mind emerges and evolves. The brain, see, maybe the size of the brain increases to some 18 or 20 years, max to max. Maybe the physicality of the brain is limited. But the mind, it is like a computer. You can do anything, you can do any magic. So you can understand anything. This is all happens. That is the one. Mind emerges and evolves as our interactions and experiences in the world get dynamically organized in the form of a system which is responsible for the occurrence of various mental processes. There is something going, it is expanding, and then there is some new thing. This is all going to affect the mental process around the world. This is what he is saying. Brain activities provides important clues as to how our mind functions. So as we said, some biological or a brain activity provide important clues as to how our mind functions. What he is saying is like when the mind functions, it leaves some clues, like some colors may change, the structure, the way it is seen on the screen changes. So it is called the mental activity. So to understand the mind functions, we can try that method. But the consciousness of our own experiences and mental process are much more than the neural or brain activities. That's what that behavior which we are exhibiting is more than neural or brain activity. As we are connected with more number of neurons, it is above that. Even when we are asleep, some mental activities go on. Yes, you dream, you know how you are sleeping, how you are waking up. These are all. Even though when you are asleep, you will not be feeling the like consciousness. You will not be conscious. It is like subconscious or unconscious state. So that's what. But still, the brain activities will go on. The mental activities go on. We dream. We receive information such as knock on the door while we are asleep. So these are the examples. Like when you, even though you are not conscious, you may have, that is what I said, subconscious. It is not fully conscious and unconscious. You may receive, if someone calls you or shouts you, you may get out of the sleep. Right? These are the things. Some psychologists have shown that we also learn and remember in our sleep. It's also like someone has reviewed the movie Inception. So in such a way, shown even still, if we sleep, the brain activity goes, it assimilates the information, it tries to remember the information, it will organize the information, how you may recall it. There will be some stress points, some clues, some cues, the brain activity cues are there. So by this, what is happening in the brain is recorded and it will help during the recall. That's how even you are asleep, you are your brain continues to work and it stores the information. Mental process such as remembering, learning, knowing, perceiving, feelings are of just interest of psychology. Psychologist tries to, if he tries to understand the mental activities, so definitely they try to relate their interest to the cognitive functions of the mental process, which is remembering, learning, noise, and person. He clearly, these study processes. Yes, I have to go on. Try to understand how the mind works and help us to improve the use of applications of mental capacities. What it tries? It tries to understand how mind works and to help us improve the uses and applications of these mental capacities. How? What are the uses of this one? I'm breathing, I'm eating, I'm doing, I'm thinking, I'm remembering. What is our process? It tries to improve the uses. He's a very smart guy, but how did he become a smart guy? He practiced it. Okay. Psychologists also study experiences of people, experiences, and psychologists also tries to study experience of the people. As we said in the definition, experiences are a part, is one aspect. It's part of the definition. Experiences, behaviors, and mental process. Experiences are subjective in nature. It is subjective, means what it is happening, why it is happening. We cannot directly observe or know someone else's experiences. That's where if you may come in the next sessions. Experiences are subjective to human being. I am happy. For me, it is happiness, but for some others, it can be sad thing, right? Corona, like the situation, so which are around us today are different and difficult. So that can be some may take it as positive, but some may take it as negative. The experiences are embedded in our awareness or consciousness. So it is unique to the individual, and then the experiences are embedded in our awareness or consciousness. If you know it, if you are conscious, if you are aware, then only you may understand what is an experience is. Right? Psychologists have focused on experience of pain being experienced by terminally ill patients or of psychological pain felt in bereavement. It is like, see, some ill patients, like physically ill, mentally good. Some mentally ill, physically bad. These are the things. Psychologists who focus on experiencing pain being experienced by terminally ill and patient psychological pain, and then they try to understand which pain is more painful besides experiences which lead positive feelings such as romantic encounters. And if you behave good, some people are attract to you and approach you. That is what it is happening. Positive feelings such as in romantic encounters. There are some esoteric experiences also which attract the attention of psychologists. Esoteric experiences which are difficult to explain, or even that calls us for psychology study, the spiritual thing, the soul. These are there will be some areas which attracts, such as when yogi meditates to enter a different levels of consciousness. So I am conscious now, but I want to like know some extraordinary things, particularly in Eastern, like in India, these yogis have very due respect and they surprise everyone every day. Okay, and creates new kind of experience, or when a drug addict takes a particular kind of drug to get high. This is also one such a thing that is related to brain, that you can say, what you can say, it is a different type of process. So in such a way, particularly, there will be some correction, some addition to take place. There will be some family issues. That's where it drug addict takes. Its behavior is different. That behavior is different. Even though such drugs are extremely helpful, even though the drugs are extremely helpful, even though experiences are influenced by internal and the external conditions of the experience. Whatever the things are, particularly, even if you administer the drug, it is important that the self, what is going inside you and what is going outside, that is environmental. So these both should be experienced. If you are traveling around a crowded bus during the hot summer day, you may not experience the usual discomfort. If you are going to a picnic or a picnic with some close friends, if you are going alone, it will be so boring. If you are going alone, there will be some negative statements. The work may not be done. But whatever the experiences influence the experiencer are depend on both the inner side and the outer side. Okay, and that bus example he gave as bus during the hot summer, you may not experience the usual discomfort. Like see, like as we are talking about bus driver, the people working in bus will have to sit long hours. He should be very active. So that's how these things happen. If you are going for a picnic with some close friends, so how excited you are. If you are going with some mother and father, like a circus, I think. So what excites you more? The daily activity will not excite, but there is a new activity that is like social networking. What you can say, there are a lot. Thus, that texture experience can only be understood by analyzing the complex set of internal and external coordination. As we are grouping together, discussing some things, that has to be uh, internal and external condition. That has to be and natural of experience. So next to it is behavior, is response or reactions which may activities we engage in. What he is trying to say, behaviors are responses or reactions we make or activities we engage in when something is hurled at you. So behavior, when you can see, it is a reaction and a response. You are taking an examination and can feel your heart pounding, right? There will be some anxiety issue, there will be some what you can say, some stressful events. There are a lot. When you are writing exam, you cannot be the same. And you decided to go for a particular movie with a friend. Behaviors may be simple or complex. When you think what we have to go, how we can go, all these things, that is critical. But what is the movie you want to see? That is what already decided. So these are the examples. That is a behavior, internal behavior. You may sweat, or you may be attention, anxious. There may be a lot of things may happen. So, but that's how this goes on. You decide to go for a particular behavior, may be simple or complex, short or enduring. Some behaviors are overt. And what he is trying to say, there will be simple behavior, there will be complex behavior, but there are, it is trying, as we said, internal behavior and external behavior. There is a name available that is overt. Some behaviors are overt. They can be outwardly seen or sensed by the observer. Overt behaviors are can be outwardly seen or sensed by an observer. Some are internal or covert, that is overt, and some are internal, that is all covert. Right? So while playing a game of chess, you almost feel your hand muscles twisting. Like when you see, you will think, you may be thinking so seriously about it. All the behaviors, that behavior is when you are playing chess or something, it is like, uh, it is like what you can say. the process which is going is different. What is going on the board is different. So some are internal and covert. External behavior, what is visible is outside. The keyword can be outside, overt, covert, inside. It is covert. Okay. Then all behaviors, covert or overt, are associated with the triggers by something stimulus in the environment or changes that happen internally. I think some flickering is happening. Please bear with me. You may see. I think is it recording? I will end the session soon.